Welcome to Overcoming Distractions, the podcast, or if you are on YouTube, Overcoming Distractions, the video blog. I'm Dave Greenwood. I am the author of Overcoming Distractions, the book. Comes out November 1st. And I am here with a great guest and somebody that I contacted right up front when I was writing the book. And it is a ADHD coach, and her name is Dana Rayburn. She's got a wealth of knowledge and expertise in this field. And again, she was a person that afforded me some time right at the beginning of this book process. So welcome, Dana.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to get right into it because people want to hear you and probably not me, but just tell people who are listening or watching this, who is Dana Rayburn?
Dana Rayburn is an ADHD adult that struggled for much of her life, the first part of her life. I didn't know about ADHD until I was in my mid-30s, and that's when I discovered it and that, oh my God, I've got it. But before that, I was incredibly disorganized, and I learned how to be organized. And before that, I was really struggling in school. I couldn't study. I thought I was smart, but my grades were really bad. And I learned how to study, and I learned what I needed to do to be able to succeed. So I graduated from university with honors. And so this was this process throughout my life. And then in my mid-40s, I had become a professional organizer for a variety of reasons, but which my friends, I just saw one of my dear friends, I went to my high school reunion, and she said, I still laugh every time I think of what you're doing because we were childhood friends. And she remembers what a disaster my bedroom always was.
Now I'm going to ask you because that's not something you probably, or the general public would relate to somebody with ADHD is you can teach me how to be organized.
Yeah. Anyway, so when I was a professional organizer, and one of my friends who was an organizer also said, Dana, have you ever heard of attention deficit? And I read the beginning, the little checklist in Driven to Distraction. I was sitting in the parking lot because those days we went to bookstores, sitting in the parking lot of our local little bookstore, and just started crying because I was reading this list and thinking, this is what has happened to me my whole life. This is why I've always felt different. This is why I've always struggled. This is the key to who I am. So from there, I set out learning about ADHD, and then I started to realize the things the strengths that I had and the workarounds I put into place to be able to succeed with this. And I built on that and built on that and built on that. Eventually, I realized my heart was with ADHD and people with ADHD, and my passion became helping people succeed because I feel like it's this journey, and I've lived back there in the swamps where you're just struggling to march through every day. And then you work along this path, and now I feel like it's this different land where life is pretty cool. Yeah, it's still hard sometimes, and there's still struggles. You still have to pay attention to it, but it's no longer this just slogging through day after day after day thinking it'll never get better. So I became a coach, and now my work is fully centered on helping adults with attention deficit disorder succeed. I focus mostly on productivity. It's organizing, time management, symptoms management, which is a huge part we have to pay attention to. And also just that awareness pieces, learning where ADHD plays into life. So that's basically, I've been doing it for I guess 19 years. 19 years.
Wow. So that is your specialty is adults, yes. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I work privately. I have private clients, and I've done some groups, and now I have the ADHD Success Club, which is my newest project, which is just wonderful fun. It's an ongoing group focusing on helping adults with ADHD learn how to succeed. I make it very affordable. There's a lot of time with me and time with the community, which is fabulous on the phone. So that's that's the biggest project and the focus I'm giving my business, because I know coaching can be so expensive. It's out of the financial reach for so many people with attention deficit disorder, but it's really an important piece of the puzzle of living successfully with ADHD. So that's why I'm moving towards group programs.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Let me, I want to loop back to that because again, I think that's important, and learning from each other. And again, like you said, the cost as well, where, I mean, I know I've used coaches over the years for, when I've been in business, and yeah, it can get expensive. So,
Yeah.
so that's a great point. It's funny, you, when I first contacted you and we started talking about the book, and you said, David, what's your plan to finish this? And I said, okay.
I was a little skeptical. David, you got to realize I get a lot of emails from a lot of people with these great ideas, and then I never hear from them.
And then poof. Yeah. And I think that kind of it's funny you say that, but it kind of goes to, what we want to talk about today is kind of that, how to get in the mindset to get stuff done or not giving up, and when you're frustrated, and I did have a plan to write this book, and again it sat around a couple of years off and on. I wrote a chapter here and then put it down, and then got busy in my day job. But so talk to me about, and again, I know they're and it's like anybody with or without ADHD. There are people that give up easy, and then there are people that do not give up easy.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to me about why you think people with ADHD do give up easy. Is it the messaging they received as kids about bad grades and try harder? I mean, what do you think it is?
It's really interesting because we tend to be a dichotomy within each person. With ADHD, I've never met so many people that, and I know I was the same way, is get up day after day after day and struggle and fail, and then go to sleep and wake up the next morning and start, the battle all over again with hope that today it's going to be magically different. But then there's a part of us that things are hard and you just don't want to. I'm thinking for myself now, I can remember being a kid, I didn't want to work that hard. And there's this idea of the toddler brain that's running the show. Somewhere in childhood, we got this message that we didn't have to do things if we didn't want to. We could just keep, goofing off, and we could fib our way through stuff. We learn early on to create the fog of, so it looks like we're doing stuff and we're hiding what we're not doing, and we learn early on to cover our tracks. I think maybe we're focused on that instead of how do we do the work and how do we get the work done. And I know that this, for years, I just gave up. I didn't work as diligently and as hard as now I do. And it was just this idea that, well, it's hard, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
So and I think it does come from childhood, and I've not really thought this through completely until right now, but I do believe that possibly our energy was focused on covering our tracks instead of, okay, this is what I need to do to be diligent and get this done.
Because we're good at covering our tracks.
Oh, we are good.
We're good at apologizing.
Yeah. And one thing I think is beautiful about people with ADHD is, I believe as we become adults, we get to this point where we realize we just aren't going to lie that much anymore, or that we get caught a lot in lying because you don't remember the lie. And so I believe that people with ADHD, we tend to be the most genuine and often brutally honest people that you're going to meet, because we spent so much time fibbing and covering our tracks when we were younger, and we don't really go there that much.
Tired.
It's just too hard. And we have often, people will use excuses for things, which I really work on with my clients on what's the difference between an excuse and an explanation. There's a a minute distinction, but you don't want to fall into the excuse mode. But it's really fascinating when you step back and start thinking about the development of somebody with ADHD and how that unfolds in their life.
So talk to me about when you have a client come in and they have, maybe it's a lack of motivation or determination, or maybe they do have all these great ideas. Maybe they have the next iPhone in their head. I don't know, but they just can't get out of their own way. What are kind of some of the basic techniques you would teach them or walk them through those exercises to kind of get things going?
Okay. And first off, my clients don't walk in. It's all virtual. I work by phone and Skype with people all over the world. So it's a little bit different, but actually I think it's a lot more effective than in person because so many of the distractions are gone. Anyway, to answer your question, if often not being motivated, we need to approach it from two sides. We always have to look at living successfully with ADHD from the lens of taking care of your brain. This is not a failure of will. It's not because you're a loser. ADHD is actually neurobiological. It begins and ends in your brain. So that means we focus on getting your brain to work as fantastically as you can get it to work. It's sleep, diet, exercise, hydration, supplements, medication if someone is able and willing to take the medication. You know, most people don't want to take them that I work with. So getting your brain to work really well. And then we also approach it from the awareness side. I work a lot with my clients on starting to listen to the internal conversations. I call it the lies you tell yourself. What is it that little voice is saying? And more often than not, it's, oh, I'll do that later. Or I don't wanna. That's the toddler brain. I don't wanna do that. And so there's these little fibs and lies to ourselves that we fall for. It's like in the old cartoons with the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and one's, whispering in your ear. And,
I think we all have those.
Yeah. And you got to listen to those little conversations and then have some tools in place that when you hear that lie, your common lie, because people have patterns that, oh, I'll do that later. That's one of my big ones, is hear that. And then you come back with a stronger external retort to yourself, because we need that external influence. So you to use me as an example. So, oh, I'll do that later. No, Dana, you'll do it now. And then if I have a block to it, it's okay. Why am I not doing it? Is it that it's often too big a project? It seems too hard. How can I break it down into smaller steps? One of the things I teach in the Success Club is the procrastination zapper. And instead of wallowing in the shame and the anger at yourself of procrastinating, this is what I'm going to do next. This is the small step. Usually if we can get started on something, we can move into it and get it done. If it's a manageable step, if we're clear on what we're doing, if we're clear on what the goal is. And then another thing I love and we use all the time are timers. I'll set the timer. Okay, I'll do this for 8 minutes and see what happens and at least get started. Play and beat the clock. Using music to motivate you, to energize you, and to get you moving. And some other tools like that I find really can help someone get motivated and get moving.
You mentioned clarity, and there were one or two other people I talked to in the book that kind of mentioned the same thing, is that when we hesitate to start something, it could be in work, it could be we have to do something for a client, and they said, oh, just go ahead and do that. And the lack of clarity gets in the way of us kind of pulling the trigger to get something done. Do you see that a lot, where people, I'm not totally clear on the outcome or what my client or what my boss wants me to do.
Yeah.
And then it just snowballs.
Right. So that lack of clarity what's the end game? I call it what's the scope of the project. That comes from my old corporate days. So how do I know when it's done? How do I know when it's enough? So getting very clear on that as well, and getting clear on the steps of a project. Often we can get so lost in planning the project that we don't actually do the project. So I have my clients break things down. I break it into threes to start with. So okay, what's this look like? Okay, what are the three big steps? Okay, then take one of those big steps. What are three smaller steps within there? Typically, that's about as low as I want people to go, because otherwise, when you start to get into too much minutia, you waste time planning. We tend to be people that build the parachute after we've jumped off the cliff. And so I've found that's how I live my life. How about you, David?
I think I've done that a few times. I'll
oh yeah, I do it all the time.
I'll say I'm guilty.
It's exciting. It's fun. So, but one of the things is if you spend all this time looking at the cliff and planning how you're going to build the parachute, well, with ADHD, I may have had this big plan and diagram of how I'm going to build the parachute, but as I'm jumping down the cliff, I'm going to change it because maybe it doesn't seem right. We tend to be very intuitive, and we go with our gut, what seems to be the best way to do it at the time. I find if we spend too much time planning things out in intricate detail, we don't follow that plan. So that's one way that people with ADHD really need to operate a lot differently than what you're going to read in most books and things as well.
Yeah. When you're working with clients and again trying to kind of just get that mindset or get stuff done, how much time do you spend on the self-talk, so to speak? And again, going back to bad grades, try harder, all that stuff. How much time do you spend on just, maybe it's, all right, we know you can do this. We know you have a lot of things you want to accomplish, but you got to kind of get the demons out, so to speak. I mean, are there routines in the morning that maybe you help clients with to say you're going to get up, you're going to be positive, how do you work with clients in that respect?
I like to have them follow that internal conversation and follow the emotion. We tend to be get really tangled up in so much of the emotion and the failure and the self-talk, the comparing ourselves to others, the fear. I find so many of us just live in this deep fear, and identifying that emotion and how that actually feels so you can sense when you're there. I know for me and most of my clients is when you start to pay attention, I can feel where the fear is when I'm afraid of something. I can feel it in my body. And then tools and tips for pulling yourself out of that, shrinking the fear so it's smaller, how you can move forward. But also very much watching the language you're using with yourself as you go through your day. I should do this. No shoulding on yourself. When you're saying you should do something, that's a huge sign that you're putting unrealistic expectations on yourself, things that you're doing it because you think you're supposed to be doing it, not because it's right for you. So yes, there's the mindfulness and there's the meditation, and we try to build those practices in, but that's a little bit more advanced than many people with ADHD can do. We need to start, in my opinion, with that moment-to-moment, day-to-day awareness and becoming the external observer of our thought processes and our actions.
Mm-hmm. What do you think those without ADHD can learn from what those with ADHD have to do to kind of get themselves in gear, develop a mindset? I mean, is it pretty much the same thing, or maybe we need to try a little harder than our non-ADHD counterparts? What do you think just regular folks can learn from us?
I think they can learn a lot from us. I think, well, as far as the mindset goes, I think they can learn compassion for other people. people without ADHD struggle with a lot of the same emotional things, but then they have the ability to be able to commit to something and follow through and do it. So they have different demons that they're battling, and approaching it much in the same way as far as the mental game, the internal game. I think we need to dig even deeper and push forward, because so many of the day-to-day activities of life are hard for us, that they aren't hard for other people. So we need to dig deeper in that. But as far as just generally, people without ADHD, I think they can learn creativity from us. I think they can learn the joy of managed impulsivity, of play, of fun, of life is an adventure, and that sparkle and energy that so many of us bring to everything that gets tampered down and often is looked down upon by other people. But when other people learn to embrace it, and we learn to control it to some extent, it can be beautiful. We light up a room. Most of us do. When we're in our best, we light up what we do. And the world needs that. It needs our creativity. It needs us to be at our best so we can let our strengths shine.
Sure. Yeah. No, I completely agree. So kind of jumping off that theme, learning from each other, let's go back to your success club, and let's talk about the structure of that and how you work with them, how they learn from each other, how they can, I don't know if the word inspire or motivate, but kind of talk to me about how this works, why somebody should consider doing this, the benefits that they'll receive.
Yeah. This was a huge invention. This is one of my building the parachute off the cliff. I have broken out of the typical model of training. It's a virtual group. It's telephone based. So the nuts and bolts of it, we have 2 calls a week. One is training, and then there's a little bit of question and answer time at the end of that. I tend to mute people on the phone during that so I can just talk, and they can be noisy in the background in front of their computer or on the phone, whatever, and not interrupt the call. And so that's on Tuesdays, there's a training call. And then on Thursdays, we have the action call. Often that's coaching. People are but through the phone, there's a way they can raise their hand, and I talk to them, I unmute them. Sometimes we just open up the full phone lines and we have discussions about things. So I help them learn how to put the skills in place that we've talked about on the Tuesday call. Then I hold them accountability. Okay, David, what are you going to get done before we talk next Tuesday? And we have those check-ins. We also have a Facebook group, a secret Facebook group, where people are chatting and setting goals and talking about problems or asking me questions in between the calls. The beauty of it, my goal was, I think skills training for people with ADHD is essential. We don't know how to do things in a way that works for us, because you can read books, you can listen to gurus talk about time management or organizing, but it has to go through that ADHD filter so we can understand how to make these things work for us. The last couple of weeks, we've been talking about make task lists, and how in the system that I use for task lists that actually works for people with ADHD, and they can get things done. And we've been talking about how to make that work in your life, the planning you need to do each day, and just little bits to have the task list work. So it's things like that. It's very practical skills. But the beauty of it that I was expecting, but has been so much more fantastic than I thought, is the community and the group and the mutual support that people are giving each other. With ADHD, we often think we're the only one. I'm the only one that struggles. I'm the only one that can't get things done. I'm the only one that says things at the wrong time. I'm the only one that can't be organized. And when you are in this group of 25 other people, and they're all talking and sharing, and this realization that, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. We all struggle with this. And then they're supporting each other. They're building accountability partners. So it's really for people that want to learn how to outsmart their ADHD, who want to make their life easier with ADHD, who are willing to do the work. That I try and keep it really simple, and there's not a lot of time outside, but if they're not going to do anything, then it's just a nice motivational phone call.
Right.
And so that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just the results people are getting are just fantastic. Their houses are becoming organized. They're managing their time in a realistic way that they can actually focus on their priorities and get things done. And it's just because this is what I'm about. It's this passion for helping people get their ADHD out of the way so they can live rich, full, creative, happy lives. And it's working. And I'm so fortunate to be able to have the skills and ability to help people. For years I've been doing one-on-one coaching with clients, and yeah, we get those results with that, but it doesn't have the community aspect of it. It doesn't have that social component that we so need, and that social support. And also it's very expensive, and I can only work with a few people at a time or I burn out when you're doing private coaching. With this, it's so much more open to so many more people, and it's fabulous. I'm sorry, I'm rattling on way too much, but
No. I think this is
I'm really excited about it because it's working. People are changing their lives, and they're learning how to live with ADHD more successfully. And they're learning, yeah, it's not always easy. I'm got something I gotta work at, but it's worth it. It's just worth it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great concept. I mean, ramble on, because I think it's a great concept. I think I think humans in general sometimes avoid asking for help. But when you can get in a group of kind of like-minded individuals and let your guard down a little bit, I think, as you said, there's a lot you can learn from not only yourself but everybody else that's dealing with similar issues. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and some people are saying, well, I don't want to do a group. I'm not a group person. But once they get in, and I say, just try it, and they'll get in and they'll start, and they love it. I don't have any length of time commitments on it because I know life changes, stuff happens, and you need to drop out for whatever reason. So people can it's a membership, but if they want to stop it, they can stop. They can rejoin later. It's ongoing, so it's every week. And I figure I've got about a year's worth of material, so then I'll start and circle back and start over again. People can jump in whenever they want. They can jump out whenever they want. I just want it to be so ADD friendly and easy.
That's fantastic. Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think that's an enormous resource. So tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, how they can find the ADD Success Club, what other resources are on your website. This is your time to,
okay. I'll promote away. Yeah, no, my website is danarayburn.com. That's DANARAYBURN.com. And the Success Club is on there. If there's a link about coaching in there, you can just sign up right there on the website. Also, another really valuable resource is my weekly blog and newsletter, the ADHD Success newsletter. And you can sign up there on the website at DANARAYBURN.com. This week I wrote ADHD sucks. What are you going to do about it? And it was just this idea, life's hard and you've got choices. You can be a victim or you can decide to do something about it. So what are you going to do about it? Next week, I'll probably give a quick organizing tip or a time management tip. I've been writing this for 13 years now, every week, and people love it. I get love notes about it all the time. So it's really, if I do say so myself, it's a great resource there too. And all the old blogs are on the website. So you can just go and search if you want to find something about project management or an ADHD friendly diet or medication or sleep. Just search and you'll get this whole list of articles and musings that I've written over the years. I really like to help people live easier. And sure, I need to make a living. Yeah, I'm supporting my family and all of that good stuff. But if I just want people to start struggling with their ADHD and learn how to manage it so they can create really hot, cool, fun, creative lives, because that's what we're about.
Yeah, and I think you and I kind of have the same
Yeah.
goal. I mean, in the book, I didn't want to put all these hacks in there and everything else. I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for a street smart approach, if you will, to managing and thriving with ADD, and then also show people who might not have ADHD that we're idea factories, and we've built some successful businesses, and we've invented things, and the people that I talked to were some of them are just amazing what they've done, that even I wouldn't even thought of some of the things that they've come up with. So
it's cool. I mean, we really are cool people, and you're right. I wrote one of my blogs years ago, and I should dust that one off again, as the Idea Factory. And how do you manage that? Because that's what we're about. But when you get bogged down in the day-to-day stuff about not being able to manage your ADHD, that gets muted. That Idea Factory gets muted, and then our gifts are hidden. And we got to get them out there, because this world needs all the creative, inventive, fun, honest people it can get.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's danarayburn.com. And I'll have that in the notes as well. And then the description, this will be up on the website as well, davidagreenwood.com. And you can contact Dana. I highly recommend it. And Dana, we'll be chatting soon, I hope.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care, David.
Cool. Thanks.